The gravel crunched under Jack Myers' Italian leather shoes as he stepped out of his Mercedes, squinting at the sprawling farmland before him. At 27, he'd built an empire, flipping neglected properties into luxury destinations. This place, Mapleville, would be his masterpiece. The farmhouse looked ancient, paint peeling like sunburned skin. Chickens scattered as he approached, and he grimaced. Checking his Armani suit for dirt, the door opened before he could knock. She stood there, barefoot, wearing faded jeans and a plaid shirt with the sleeves rolled up. Her dark hair fell loose around her shoulders, and hazel eyes studied him with unsettling intensity. "You must be the millionaire." Jack forced a smile. "Jack Myers. I'm here to see Thomas Randall about the land purchase." "Lily Randall." She didn't extend her hand. "My father's expecting you." Jack's office felt smaller each day, the walls closing in with every rejected call. 3 investors had backed out in 48 hours. The bank loan was dead. His assistant Grace watched him pace like a caged animal. "Running out of time," she said softly. "The Randalls want proof of funding, or they're walking." He slammed his fist on the desk. "I know." The city skyline mocked him through the windows. All those buildings he'd conquered, and now one small farm threatened to destroy everything. His phone rang. Unknown number. Jack Myers. Mr. Myers. The voice was electronically distorted, neither male nor female. "I understand you need an investor for the Mapleville project." Jack's pulse quickened. "Who is this?" "Someone interested in your vision. $2 million. 60% ownership, non-negotiable." "That's insane. I don't even know who you are." "You'll know when the time is right. You have 24 hours to decide. Lose your dream or accept my terms." The line went dead. Jack stared at his phone, sweat beading on his forehead. 60% meant losing control. But without it, he had nothing. Grace appeared in the doorway. That call looked intense. "Someone wants to save the project." His voice was hollow. "But they want majority control. Do you trust them?" "I don't have a choice." The next morning, Jack drove back to Mapleville, the contract burning in his briefcase. He'd accepted the mystery investor's terms. The money would transfer within hours. He found Lily by the barn, feeding horses. She wore the same worn jeans, but something about her seemed different. More knowing, back again. She didn't look at him. "Thought you'd be busy counting your millions. I came to tell your father the deposit's ready." "Really?" Now she turned, and her eyes held something dangerous. "Found your miracle investor?" "How did you small towns talk, Mr. Myers? Word spreads fast about desperate millionaires." His jaw clenched. "You don't know anything about my situation." She stepped closer, and he smelled lavender and rain. "I know you're drowning. I know you'd do anything to save your precious resort. I know you look at people like us and see nothing but obstacles. That's not true, isn't it?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Tell me, Jack, when you look at me, what do you see?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. Because the truth was ugly. He'd seen her as insignificant. A farmer's daughter with no power, no influence, no importance. Her smile was sad, knowing. "That's what I thought." Thomas appeared from the barn. "Jack, good timing. Let's finalize everything." As they walked toward the house, Lily called out, "Careful what you trade for success, Mr. Myers. Sometimes the price is more than money." Inside, Jack signed papers with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The anonymous investor's funds had arrived that morning. Everything was falling into place. So why did he feel like he'd just made a terrible mistake? That night, back in his hotel room, Jack received another call from the distorted voice. "Congratulations, Mr. Myers. You're officially the minority owner of your own dream. I'll be watching your progress very closely. When do I meet you?" A pause. "Then, sooner than you think." The line went dead. Jack stood at the window, staring at the dark fields beyond town. Somewhere out there, someone held his future in their hands. He just didn't know it was the woman he'd dismissed as a simple country girl. Construction began 3 weeks later. Jack threw himself into the project with manic energy, trying to ignore the invisible leash around his neck. Every decision now required approval from his mystery investor. Every email, Every blueprint, every budget line scrutinized by someone he'd never met. It was driving him insane. He found himself returning to Mapleville more often than necessary, telling himself it was for progress updates. But truthfully, the farm had become his escape from the suffocating pressure of the city. And then there was Lily. He'd catch glimpses of her, among feed bags that should have been too heavy, fixing a fence with practiced efficiency, reading thick business journals on the porch swing. She never seemed surprised to see him, never seemed impressed by his presence. It bothered him more than it should. One evening, he found her by the lake, watching the sunset paint the water gold and crimson. He approached without thinking. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said. She didn't turn. "This lake has been here longer than your family's had money. Jack, it'll be here long after your resort crumbles to dust. Really hate this project. I hate what it represents." Now she looked at him, and her eyes were storm clouds. Rich men who think they can buy meaning, who think luxury can replace authenticity. That's not fair, isn't it? She stood, brushing dirt from her jeans. "You looked at this place and saw potential profit. You looked at my father and saw a transaction. You looked at me and saw nothing at all." The words cut deeper than he expected. "Lily, save it." But her voice cracked, just slightly. "I'm used to being invisible to people like you. You're not invisible." The confession escaped before he could stop it. "You're the only real thing in my life right now," she laughed, harsh and broken. "Real? You don't even know me. Then let me." The air between them crackled. For a moment, he thought she might lean closer. Might let whatever this was become something dangerous and consuming. Instead, she stepped back. "You should go, Jack. Before you say something you can't take back." He left. But the ache in his chest stayed. That night, another email from the anonymous investor. "The feelings you're developing are a liability. Focus on the project. Nothing else matters." Jack's blood ran cold. How did they know? He called the number. No answer. Sent an email demanding a meeting. Silence. Someone was watching him. Someone knew things they shouldn't. He returned to the farm the next day, finding Lily in the barn. She was on the phone, speaking in rapid professional tones about market projections and equity stakes. He froze, listening. "Yes, the preliminary assessment shows a 40% ROI within 3 years. The location is prime for development, but we need to maintain community goodwill." Pause. "I understand. I'll handle it personally." She turned, saw him, and her expression shuddered instantly. "Who are you talking to?" Jack's voice was rough. "Client? Client? You're a farmer's daughter." Her smile was razor sharp. "Is that all you see?" "Still." "Lily, what's going on?" She walked past him, shoulder brushing his. "You're so busy looking down at people, Jack. You never think to look up. To wonder who's really pulling the strings." His mind raced. The business vocabulary. The confidence. The way she'd known about his investor problems before he'd told anyone. "It's you." The words came out strangled. "You're the investor." She stopped. Back still turned. Silence stretched between them like a blade. When she finally faced him, her eyes were chips of ice. Surprise. He followed her through the house. Noting the worn furniture, the cracked linoleum, the smell of fresh bread mixed with old wood, everything screamed poverty to him. Simple, uncomplicated, disposable. Thomas. Randall met them in a small office that smelled of leather and hay. The contract signing took an hour. Jack explained his vision. Luxury cabins, a spa, maybe a golf course. Revenue for the community. He promised. Lily leaned against the doorframe, silent. Watching. "This land has been in our family for 3 generations, Thomas said, his weathered hands trembling slightly as he held the papers. "You're sure you'll preserve its character?" "Absolutely." Jack's smile was practiced, hollow. "Think of it as elevation, not erasure." Lily's laugh was sharp, bitter. "That's what developers always say before they pave over everything that matters." Jack met her gaze. "You wouldn't understand. This is business. You wouldn't understand what you're destroying. Her voice was quiet, deadly. But I suppose country girls like me don't know anything about real value. The words hung between them. Electric Thomas cleared his throat. The deposit is due in 2 weeks. Can you manage that? Of course. Jack stood confident. My investors are lined up. This is happening. But as he walked back to his car, his phone buzzed. An email from his bank. Loan application denied. His stomach dropped. Behind him, through the farmhouse window, he saw Lily watching. Her expression unreadable in the fading sunlight. She smiled. It wasn't friendly. Jack's world tilted sideways. The barn walls seemed to close in, the smell of hay suddenly suffocating. You? His voice was barely a whisper. This whole time, Lily's expression remained cold, controlled. Yes. How? You're a farmer's daughter. You live in a house with cracked floors and what, Jack? Poor people can't have money. She laughed, bitter and sharp. My grandmother left me a trust fund. $8 million. I've been investing since I was 19. Made my first million at 22 in tech startups. He staggered back. Then why the act? The farm closed, the chickens, the no act. Her voice cracked. This is my life. This is my home. Just because I have money doesn't mean I stopped being myself. But you wouldn't understand that. You wear your wealth like armor. Like it makes you better than everyone else. That's not true, isn't it? She stepped closer, fury and hurt blazing in her eyes. You walked onto this property and dismissed me immediately. A simple country girl, right? Not worth your time. Not worth seeing as a person. Lily, I watched you, Jack. I saw how you talked to my father like he was a child. How you smiled that hollow smile and made promises you didn't care about keeping. How you looked at this land like it was nothing but empty space waiting for your vision. Tears streamed down her face now, and seeing them shattered something inside him. I wanted to destroy you, she whispered. I wanted you to feel what it's like to be powerless, to be dismissed, to be nothing. So you bought my dream. His voice was hollow. You became my investor to control me. Yes. The word hung between them like a death sentence. Jack sank onto a hay bale, head in his hands. Why tell me now? Because I can't do it anymore. Her voice broke completely. I thought I wanted revenge. I thought making you dance on my strings would feel good. But watching you struggle, seeing you actually care about this project, about this place, about you, he finished quietly. She looked away. Don't. It's true. He stood, closing the distance between them. I was an arrogant bastard. I was everything you said. But you, Lily, you saw through all my bullshit and still tried to save my project. Why? Because despite everything, I believed in the dream. The real one. Not the profit margins or the luxury amenities. The part where you wanted to preserve something beautiful and share it with the world. His hand found hers. I'm sorry. For not seeing you. For not seeing any of this. She pulled away. Sorry doesn't fix this, Jack. I own 60% of your company. I have all the power. And you have to live with knowing the woman you're falling for destroyed your independence. I don't care about the percentage. You should. Her eyes hardened again. Because I have one more demand. The contract I'm sending over tomorrow transfers full ownership of the resort to me. You'll be a paid consultant. Nothing more. Felt like he'd been punched. What? This is my land. My community. My vision now. You either accept it, or I pull all funding and sue you for breach of contract. You're taking everything? Like you tried to take everything from us. She walked toward the barn door. You have 24 hours to decide. Lose it all, or work for me, Lily. Please. She stopped, shoulders shaking. I waited my whole life for someone to see past the farm clothes and the small town address. To see me as an equal? You had that chance, Jack. You threw it away the second you walked onto this property. Let me make it right. Some things can't be fixed. Her voice was barely audible. Sign the papers. Walk away from your pride, or lose everything. She left him standing in the barn, surrounded by the wreckage of his assumptions. That night, Jack sat in his hotel room, the new contract glowing on his laptop screen. Total surrender. Everything he'd built, handed over to a woman who'd played him perfectly. His phone rang. "Grace, don't do it," she said. "We can fight this. Get lawyers. She manipulated you." "No," Jack said quietly. "She showed me who I really was, and I don't like what I saw." He signed the contract at 3 a.m., tears blurring the screen. The next morning, he found Lily on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise. "It's done," he said. "You win." She didn't smile, didn't gloat, just nodded slowly. "No one wins this, Jack. We both just lost different things." 6 months later, the Mapleville resort opened to quiet fanfare. No grand celebration, no champagne toasts. Just a soft autumn morning with leaves turning gold and the lake reflecting clouds like spilled paint. Jack stood at the main lodge watching guests arrive. Lily had kept every promise he'd made to Thomas. The resort blended into the landscape like it had always belonged there. Rustic cabins with modern comforts, a spa that used local herbs, hiking trails that preserved the old-growth forest. It was more beautiful than his original vision, and it wasn't his. Lily appeared beside him, wearing a simple dress that somehow made her look more powerful than any designer suit. "The reviews are good," she said, "professional, distant. Occupancy is projected at 90% through winter." "You did it right. We did it right." She paused. "Your consulting work was invaluable. The guests love your attention to detail." The words were generous, but her voice was empty. They'd barely spoken beyond business in months. He'd tried at first to bridge the gap between them, but she'd built walls higher than any he'd ever constructed. "Lily, don't." She turned away. "We have a staff meeting in an hour. Review the quarterly projections." He watched her walk away, and something inside him cracked. That evening, he found her by the lake again. Their lake, where everything had fallen apart. "I'm leaving," he said. She went still. "What?" "I'm resigning as consultant. Effective immediately." "You don't need me anymore. Jack, we have contracts. Obligations, sue me." He smiled sadly. "I'm tired, Lily. Tired of pretending this is enough. Tired of working beside you and pretending I don't." His voice broke. "I can't do this." "Can't do what?" "Love you from a distance. Watch you shut me out. Pay forever for mistakes I'd give anything to undo." The words hung in the cooling air between them. Lily's hands trembled. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to just say that and make everything okay." "No." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "That's why I'm giving you this." She opened it. Her hand shook harder as she read. "This is a transfer deed. You're signing over your remaining 40% to me? Jack, this is everything I have left." He stepped closer. "My final sacrifice. Proof that I see you." "Really see you?" "Not the money. Not the power. Just you. The woman who feeds chickens at dawn and reads market reports at midnight, who loves her father's land more than any profit margin, who saw through my bullshit and still tried to save what mattered." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Why would you do this?" "Because you were right. I took everything for granted. I never understood what real wealth was until I lost it. And the richest thing I ever had was the chance to know you. I threw it away. Jack, I don't want your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to have this. Build your dream. The real one. Not revenge. Not punishment. Just beauty." He turned to leave, but her hand caught his wrist. "You idiot." Her voice was wrecked, raw. "You beautiful, stupid idiot." She pulled him close, and suddenly they were kissing, desperate and broken and perfect. Her hands fisted in his shirt. His arms wrapped around her like he could hold together all the shattered pieces. When they finally broke apart, both were crying. "I'm sorry," they said simultaneously, then laughed through tears. "I never should have manipulated you," Lily whispered. "I was hurt and angry, and I weaponized your dreams against you. That's unforgivable. And I never should have looked at you and seen less than the extraordinary person you are. That's unforgivable too." She pressed her forehead to his. So what do? We start over. He pulled back slightly, offering his hand. Hi, I'm Jack Myers. I'm an arrogant reformed millionaire who's trying to be better. And you are? She laughed, taking his hand. Lily Randall. Farmer's daughter. Secret investor. Woman who's too scared to trust but willing to try. Want to build something together? 50-50 partnership. No games, no power plays. Just us. She looked at the resort, at the land, at the lake reflecting stars. I want to tear up both contracts, she said finally. Start completely fresh. Equal partners in everything. Everything? The resort. The land, she smiled, trembling and brave. Maybe more if you're interested. He kissed her softly. I'm very interested. They stood by the lake as night fell, two broken people learning to be whole. The resort glowed in the distance, no longer his dream or hers, but theirs. Thomas appeared on the porch, waving them in for dinner. He'd known about Lily's money all along, had watched his daughter teach a hard lesson to a man who needed to learn it. You think they'll make it? Grace asked, visiting for the grand opening. Thomas smiled. They already have. They just didn't know it yet. Inside, over a dinner of farm-fresh food and city-taught sophistication, Jack and Lily began again. No pretenses. No facades. Just two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their pride. The Mapleville resort thrived, not because of luxury or profit, but because it was built on a foundation of hard-earned truth. And in the end, that was worth more than any fortune. Years later, when people asked how they met, Jack would smile and say, "She saved my life by taking everything I thought mattered." And Lily would add, "He saved mine by finally seeing me." Some prices are paid in money. The ones that matter are paid in pride, in growth, in the courage to change. They paid it willingly. Together. The end.